Okay, just doing a little bit more digging through of some boxes that I've had sitting around, and I came across this. I came across a few things, but check this out right here. This is the Duluth News Tribune's Last Minute and Leisure Planner. It's from October 25th, 1997, and here's this big spread, and it's the photos featuring a bunch of Stampscapes stamps. This is not an article on me or Stampscapes, but just stamping in general. But it says, stamp out a masterpiece. And I just kind of, skimmed this a little bit right here. But this is, it starts off, after her family goes to bed, Rita Charter's creative juices start to flow. Sounds kind of familiar, right? A lot of us do our stamping at night. And that's when she sits at her down at her kitchen table, her rubber stamps, ink pads, colored markers, scissors, embossing powder, and heat gun handy, and makes her own greeting cards and gift bags. Time flies. Sound familiar? It becomes my hobby and my therapy, says Charter, a high school English teacher living in Hibbing. It relaxes me. It feeds the creative side of me. It's the one thing I do for me. It's what a lot of us, can relate to. It's, things. I mean, I'm a manufacturer, but I'm a stamper too. But, a lot of people, it does all those things for, for us. And reading back on this, scissors, embossing powder, and heat gun, that was, basically the supplies that were around back in 1997 here. And, I've never been an arts or crafts person, so when I latched onto this, I was more surprised than anyone, says Charter, a stamper since February. So this is in October. She started stamping in February, which is, kind of, that's what stamping is for a lot of people. It's the ideal kind of craft for today's, busy working people. You can come up with a project in the time that you get home from work and you sit down and you eat dinner, you have kids, take care of the kids, put them to bed, and in an hour or whatever time frame that people have, they can come up with a finished project, as far as that type of craft goes. Stamping a vehicle for all to be artists. Here, this is not a picture of her, but it says Vanessa Burnt uses an embossing heat gun to create a raised image on a card. And it goes into Paula Bergen from Paula Best Stamps. I forgot she lived out there, or I didn't know that. If that's her, and not someone else, but I don't know. It's not a huge article, but it just goes into this little snippet here, Most stampers move on to the more professional-looking embossing technique that looks like silk screening using pigment ink. The stamp is raised with a heat-sensitive powder, and it gives some prices on there. A lot of people early on, embossing is what got them into rubber stamping, and I heard that over and over. Again, that was the kind of the key medium for getting people really into stamping. So that, and you hear a lot of things like Stampin' Up, but I don't know, check this out here. I was looking at this, the movies that were out in 1997, Devil's Advocate, Gattaca, what is it, 7 Years in Tibet? Anyway, but a really cool article, and I don't know, there were a lot of stampers out in that Minnesota area after, in short time. I don't know when it kind of started, but I'm sure this would have been kind of right around that time when it just started exploding. And then you got a lot of stores out there. There were a lot of stores that carried our stamps out there too. Looking around, here's some really fantastic samples that I came across. These are by Tyra Smith, who you can see, that has multiple galleries in our online gallery section. There weren't a lot of things like blogs and whatnot, online blogs and whatnot, kind of in the, I don't know, late 90s, kind of when the internet just started coming around. So I think Picture Trail or something like that was one of those early ones, but some really fantastic scenes. So what I would do anyway, what I'm getting at is we would get a lot of samples from people that would submit them, and I would do a lot of scanning, or a friend of mine that was doing our website at the time would do a lot of scanning and put people's work up on the website. So there weren't a lot of self-created websites because there just weren't the galleries for it back then. We were uploading things over dial-up internet, but these are really cool scenes. Tyra kind of tiled these out. This is, I don't know, this is probably at a later date, but she got this paper, or made the paper herself. Oh, this is 2001. She even has it marked there, but kind of these little stamps were made of her scenes. So some of these scenes are big. This is like an 11 by 17 scene that she did. Huge cards. Some framed pieces that people gave to me, probably at a show or something like that, but this is like an embossed piece of that handmade paper, but kind of a really cool project like this, and it's framed off. I don't have the name of the person that gave this one to me. Oh, no, well, it's Tyra again, so there you go. I was looking on the back of it, couldn't find it, but figures it'd be her. Here's another scene, very moody looking color scheme, very rich in terms of the colors that were used on here. I don't know if this is Tyra again, but if it was, it's not signed down here. But full 8.5 by 11 right here, framed in a, you know, kind of a cool frame. Presentation here. Okay, now, let's see, before I get to these ones, some really great scenes by Shannon Sueyoshi. Can you see that glitter that's been applied to this scene right here over the top of it? It gives a really great shimmering effect on these cards. Kind of real similar color schemes. It kind of works almost as a, not a triptych, I don't know what they would call a 4-scene composition, but I don't know, I like that finish on here. See that right there? And it glistens, so kind of another option here. And let's see, in touching this, I believe all of the stamps on here, images, were embossed, probably in black detailed embossing powder, so kind of a different look, you know. I do a lot of my scenes on this channel in a given technique and media, but there's all kinds of other things you can do, finishes to your scenes. So all kinds of things in scenic stamp. Check this out right here. This I believe this is a polymer clay. I don't know if it's Fimo or, let's see if I can get it to focus. Here we go. See, look at this little scene right here. And the imagery has been pressed into the clay, and I don't know how they finish this. Let it air dry or fire it or something like that. But so this is recessed right here, okay? And then she went into it and colored that in. That's by Tyra again, 2000. Shrink plastic with my old address in Huntington Beach. But this scene right here is huge. It's like 10 inches and some change, but shrunk down into this plastic and made into a keychain. So kind of a fun project like that. Shrink plastic became kind of the rage for a while there. Thank you for coming to our meeting. Your talent's amazing. Carolyn McCartney from the Palm Desert Stamp Club. Fun bunch of stampers out there, and I went out there a couple times. But these are, I think it was the tumbled tile. Not dominoes. I think it was tumbled tiles or something like that. Wasn't that what they're called? I could be mistaken, but you know, in this kind of finished off in the Altoid type tin here. And here's another Altoid tin here, and I think Tyra did these ones. I think. Let me see if she did. And it's not signed, but our little group hikers are on there. So you have this little kind of cool domino set, kind of, but made into a craft project in theme. So, one little piece right there. And tons of pieces here from Tyra. Again, thanks Tyra, by the way. But necklaces, and you can see when kind of the alternative surfaces started being used, but you can see, you know, how stamps, I mean, this is a, you know, 4.5-inch stamp, but she just used certain portions for what she wanted on here. This is another big stamp. It's a 3 by 4.5 stamp, but she just used a little section of the Autumn Brook to make this little necklace right here. So great little pieces. Here you can see the balloon, a little boating fisherman, you know, some reeds around it. So you have kind of background, the water, midground, subject, and foreground on it here on a tiny little piece. So, you know, it just comes to show you can do all kinds of things on, you know, a limited whatever canvas, it's not canvas, but, you know, limited amount of surface area. Okay? And is it scenic stamping? Sure, why not, you know? It's small little pieces. This one's like wrapped around this tile. It has a little thing to hang it from. Here's another interesting piece right here. It'd be more interesting if I should have brought a little flashlight and I could pop it in kind of the middle here, but it's, I don't know, what do you call these things? Lumieres or something? You put a little something, you know, a light bulb on the inside, and then these things will illuminate. So, fun project. It's done with some matte black, super black matte board. It's that one that's kind of black all the way through. So, really a dramatic piece. And then, you know, you put the light into it, and it'll glow. And completely different scenic stamping type of. I forgot what type of paper she stamped this on. It's like rice paper or something. And then some of it has that little shimmery glow, so kind of an added little bonus when you're, you know, when it's backlit. So, great stuff. Okay, now here's some other things that I printed out, but I printed, this is a smaller scene right here, but I thought I would show this because you can really see. I blew this up on a color laser machine at like a Kinko's Copies back when, but this is by Pam Klein. She stamped this scene out, but I thought I would show just how effective those little gel pen dots are. Back in the day, these were actually, I do think this was a gel pen. I was going to say it was a white paint pen, but she used the blue, pastel blue dots in here as well. But look at that tree right there. I mean, that's a lot of dots applied there. I don't know if she planned on doing that, but when she started adding it, I'm sure she thought, hey, that looks good, and she just kept adding more. But look at that shimmer, that shimmering surface that creates. Kind of here's the overall, and that star was from Judykins. I don't know if she did it in reverse or what, but I remember everyone wanted that star after they saw this scene here. You see what's going on in here. The crooked limb is stamped in white and in black to create extra depth here, and then you have all those. That same type of effect is run with the gel pen over this whole surface so that it creates a little bit of unity. If it was just in one part, it would look kind of odd, you know. Little kind of tiled piece right here. This was by, I think this was Linda Ellenwood that did these ones. And again, I blew these ones up here. But kind of these different takes on scenic stamping and how to apply certain imagery. It's like she stamped different ones with different color schemes, put them together, but then to unify them, she stamped over the top of them. And so you have these images running through you know, different tiles to kind of add a little bit of depth and to unify through common imagery by the overlapping. But yeah, that was Linda Ellenwood. Anyways, great stuff. Here's another one from Pam. And again, this is huge, but I blew it up so that I blew it up so that we can display these in the conventions, you know, in our booth. You know, just scenes at, you know, regular size sometimes wasn't quite as effective if someone's looking at this from, you know, 2 people deep in the booth or something like that. Everyone loved this scene from Pam. She really did quite an elaborate composition here, but she used, I don't remember who that I knew who that mountain line was from at some point in time. It's probably on her website, the gallery, under Pam Klein. She owned a store out there in Missouri, but I really love this composition by her. Look at this lighting right here on this, the ledge stamped sideways, but, you know, that water here is being illuminated, and the mountain line bottom lit clouds, but you can see all those little dots in there to highlight and to bring that extra little touch. You can see those dots on here to reiterate the lighting. Okay. So anyways, thank you so much, everyone, for submitting these back when and letting us use these for displays and whatnot. Here's the tree trunk trio, but she only used 2 of the trees right here and at an angle. Reiteration of the lighting on there. So just some really fun stuff here, some fun projects, and wanted to get those in. Alright, now I'm not going to do a separate video for this, but just to show you, this was the peak of you know, rubber stamp technology at one point in time, probably in the 80s, but this was your first stamp positioner. It was just, you know, a couple pieces of acrylic, right, glued together. Now this one's by Art Impressions in Oregon, but if I'm not mistaken, I think Gary from Stamper Barbara came up with the first positioner. As far as a product goes, there might have been people using some T-squares or something like that before then, but then if I'm not mistaken, he came out with the first one, so. But anyways, you know, that was it back when, you know. We weren't talking about too many accessories in the Rubber Stampers supply, you know, box, but when these things came out, suddenly, if you missed your positioning, or if you had to have some kind of, you know, stamp position a certain way, there you have it right there, so. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this little walk back in time. I found this origami little elephant here. We used to have hard copy catalogs. I haven't had a hard copy catalog in years, but I used to charge $1. But look at this little elephant here. I can't even believe this little dollar bill is turning yellow, but I just couldn't. It wasn't in me to take that little thing apart, but and that's probably going back to 1994 or something like that. I don't know, kind of off subject, but it was in my, you know, boxes of, I don't know, Stampscapes history, I guess you can say. So, thanks for watching, and until the next video.